Welcome. It is January 21st. Hello, Pisces Ascendant, Pisces Risings. This is your video. This is all astrology. And I am going to give a little talk about the Venus and Mars square up that is coming. This is all happening at the same time of the new moon for January. The new moon happens on the 24th. I'm going to attach the video down below, right below the comments, so that you don't got to search for it. But you're going to want to watch it because I go through in that video, along with a whole buttload of other information, what this new moon is going to mean for you and how to utilize the energy and the frequencies to set forth excellent intentions that literally will come true. Another thing, in case you're not aware, is that with this new moon, the Aquarian energy, the sign Aquarius, that location is the 11th house, all right? The 11th house, so when you hear Uranus and Aquarius and the 11th house, understand we're talking about the same thing, those three things, okay? Uranus energy is about surprises, is about innovative thinking, information from source that comes through, but like lightning bolt, right? When you get information that comes in, it just comes so fast. So at this time, with the sun and the moon and Mercury being there, things are going to start moving very quickly. Remember, Mercury represents communication, how I think. Now, as Mercury pulls away from the sun, things will start to become even more clear. We'll get more definitive details, right? Things that we're missing before. More of that is going to come out. So when you look at your chart and you have, you see, where is Uranus in my chart? I'm sorry, where's Aquarius in my chart? Then you see, okay, so that means right now we've got Mercury there, the sun, the moon, and that area of my life, I'm going to be getting some clarity. So for Pisces Ascendant, Pisces Risings, this is a very big deal. I know it is for all of us because we all have this somewhere in our chart. But typically, there is things, if you were to look at your chart, right, you have Aries in your second house. So having Aries in your second house means there are things that you value when it comes to knowledge and information, anything that gives you a more knowledge about self. Aries is self. So you value that. That's going to intrigue you. More than intriguing, it's exciting. It's like an adventure. The more you uncover things about self, the more you can do things that help you to express more of who you are, more of your divine degrees of who you are, the more exciting it is. You have great value for something like that. So I just thought I would give you that little backdrop of information about self and about, well, astrology. And the information I just shared is nothing more than looking at the basic energies of your birth chart if you are a Pisces Ascendant, Pisces Rising. So when you watch that video, you'll understand that in conjunction with that, this Venus is going to square Mars. Right now, Mars is like, let me check on the ephemeris thing here. We've got Mars like at 16 degrees. I'm sorry, 13, 14 degrees right now. What's going to happen is that when it hits about the 26th, it gets tighter. Venus starts moving. Venus moves faster than Mars. Venus gets to this point where she starts to get closer and closer and closer. So when we get to like the 27th, 28th, we start getting this exact square energy occurring. So now we're going to discuss Venus, and we're going to break her down in your chart per this transit. So for Pisces Ascendant, Pisces Rising, Venus right now is going and sitting right on top of Neptune. Neptune and Venus are in your sign. They're in Pisces. They're either on your ascendant or in your first house. Now, I'm going to give the degrees, because if you're looking at a chart where the house system has, say half of your degrees are in your first house and half of the degrees of Pisces are in the 12th house. All right, this is fine. This is typically then I'm looking at a tropical Placidus system. There are charts you look at that could be a whole house system, which means all 30 degrees of a sign are encompassed within one house. It doesn't let the degrees of the sign divide, all right? I find greater accuracy with the tropical Placidus, so I do use that system when I'm giving out chart readings. So, Pisces with Venus and Neptune present. Pisces is idealistic. It is this we are all one energy. It is the non-tangible 5D realm. It is not the material world. However, that energy can be expressed in the material world, right? It can be expressed in a 3D way. Expressions of the 3D way were all what all the old school astrologers used to talk about when they spoke about the 12th house. Again, Pisces, 12th house, Neptune. Those are the three keywords that all go together, okay? So this is like this for every sign and for every house and for every planet. There's usually typically going to be 3 or 2 other things that you can pair up with it that generally mean the same thing, all right? So Neptune energy back in the day, a low expression of it, they used to say it was the house of self-undoing because this is the house of your subconscious. So you have hidden habits, hidden traits, this deep psychology, things about yourself that you were not aware of, the way you think, the way you felt about certain things. It's also considered the house of our past, of our history, of our karma, things that we did in past lives. And so in the present life, typically, if something comes like from out of nowhere, especially an individual or an event, they'll say, okay, this was a 12th house event. If something transiting or natally squared up a planet that you have in the 12th, an event occurs, whether it's a meeting or an experience of some sort, and it has something to do with souls, right, that we knew in our past life. Because when we talk about this lifetime, one of the best ways to, well, I shouldn't say the best for me, is to kind of look at it like a movie or a play or, a theatrical, it's a story. And so for this lifetime, this is our story. This lifetime, the character I'm playing is G. My past life, I was a different person. I wasn't G. I was somebody else. I had a different rising. I had a different sun sign. I had a different moon sign. That's how the soul experiences. It goes through these cycles, these lifetime cycles, and it has a different set of cards, so to speak, right? You sit down at a table, you get dealt some cards, you get a different hand every time. Same exact thing. Each lifetime you get a fresh hand, right? And so you have to learn how to deal. You're exposed to different experiences. So with that said, the Piscean energy, that 12th house, is all of that. So a low expression of it would be, if you're not aware of something, it controls you, all right? So if you have these behaviors that you just don't put a lot of your awareness to, your focus and your light on, whether it's because you're embarrassed, right? So you hide it from yourself, right? Not alone other people, you hide it from yourself because it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that, or I thought that, or I did that, or I do that. So it's something that you kind of repress and you put away. And then there's other things that you're not aware of at all. And I can give you a really good example, something really mundane. But there was something I wrote down. It was, and I'm just going to say it because somebody else, my partner actually, Miss A, my astrology partner, when I was writing down the glyphs for the signs, I was writing down the sign of Cancer. If you're not aware of what the sign of Cancer looks like, well, actually I have it written here. The sign of Cancer, these are my astrology notes for when I'm giving a video, by the way. This is how I'm able to keep track of each sign. This is the sign of Cancer, okay? Now, depending upon how you view it, right, it could be a number 6 and then a number 9. Well, for the longest time, I was writing it well, I'll just go ahead and put it down, right? For the longest time, when I was referring to the sign of Cancer, in my notes, in my astrological notes, I was writing it literally like this, okay? So it literally was written as a 69. So honestly, I swear to you, just the other day, she says to me, she's looking at my notes, right? She's looking at how I do the readings, right, for each signs and just the weird way I do it. So I said, well, I was trying to explain stuff. And anyway, so we're getting back to that thing. And she says, why do you write your Cancer glyph as as that? And I said, what do you mean? And I looked at it and she goes, well, you write it. It looks like a 6 and a 9. It looks like the number 69. And I said, oh, I'm the one who wrote it and has written it multiple times for a very long time. And I said, I wasn't even aware I was doing that. Like I would write all the other signs normally, but I was so focused on when you write the glyphs, they're awkward. And I have this thing about when I write or draw, I focus a lot and too much on the details. I have Virgo in my 5th house, okay? Virgo is your house of creative expression. I'm sorry, the 5th house is your house of creative expression. But I have Virgo there, and Virgo has the ability, Virgo overanalyzes. Virgo can see the details and has the ability to get hung up on the details. And that's a great example of what that was. However, I was unaware that I was doing this. And that is a crazy, stupid example of me expressing and doing something, and swear to God, it's the hand on a stack of whatever, of sacred texts. I had no clue I was doing that. It was a subconscious thing, all right? So that's an example, a real quick, simple example of a subconscious activity. Now, did that bring me self-undoing? Well, it could have, because some people could look at it and be like, wow, look at that person. I mean, nothing serious, of course, but there could be activities and things that we do that we're not aware of that could hurt us down the line. Someone could look at it and take this interpretation and say, oh my God, why would you do that? Why would you, and innocently, I was focusing on trying to make that awkward, it looks like a 6 and it looks like a 9, but they're horizontally done. Right? When you look at the sign of Cancer, they're supposed to be, it's a horizontal 6 and 9. But I was so focused on making them symmetrical and just perfect. And I lost the scope of them being vertically presented as opposed to being horizontally presented. So that's, again, a fixation of the little as opposed to the bigger picture. So too much of a peek into my demented mind, right? So anyway, getting back to Pisces Ascendant, Pisces Rising, because now I'm completely lost of where the hell I was. But I think I was focusing on what you value, and it was having your Aries Ascendant. I'm sorry, having your Arian energy in the 2nd house. Now the 2nd house, because you have Aries there, it's ego, and so yes, it really does feed the ego to discover more things about yourself. I can speak about this too, and I'm actually not going to dip any further into this, but I do have a lot of I have multiple planets in Aries, so I get it. I understand how it feeds you in a way. The difference is realizing when it's feeding the ego as opposed to it's really a matter of just learning more about me as opposed to actually attaining knowledge. And so that's kind of what the Arian lesson is realizing it's going to the other side, and it's compromising, and it's, getting information about we as opposed to just me. So for Pisces Ascendant, Pisces Rising, I know I just totally went off track and I apologize. But hopefully there was a lot of knowledge there that you can take forward. Pisces Ascendant, you're dealing with your Venus in your 1st house, okay? So the degree right now, you're looking for 16 degrees. Now, if you have a rising sign at 16 degrees, this is going to probably be a big deal, right? Because that means you've got Mars squaring your ascendant. Now, your ascendant represents your body, okay? Mars rules the 1st house, rules Aries, because Aries represents the 1st house. It rules the 1st house, right? So this is body versus body in essence then. If your ascendant isn't at 16 though, right? Look on your ascendant. If it's not at 16, if it's a much earlier degree, then that means you already dealt with this. That means that you already had Mars squaring you. Because like I said, Mars is, well actually, Mars is like at 13. But the big deal is when they square up. And so that'll be more closer to 16. And if you have a later degrees ascendant, because some people have a lot of their that rising sign, a good majority of their rising sign, like me. My rising sign, my rising is a late degree in the 20 numbers. So most of that is sitting in my 12th house. Which means you don't have to worry about it. You've already experienced it. You've already gotten it. Okay? Does that help? Because I know there were people talking about degrees and commenting, and I'm trying to satisfy their answer. And if I haven't, just comment. And I love answering astrology questions. Like, I'm a freak that way. That's like all I like to talk about. So anyway, take advantage of the thing while it's here. So for Pisces, Venus becomes delusional. That's just, I'm going to be honest with you. She becomes, a low expression of her is delusional. A high expression is extremely idealistic. But here's the thing. Understanding that our ideal wants and desires, because that's Venus, wants and desires are sometimes unattainable. So what does Venus do here? At this time, she's going to become more about doing what she wants, doing what she needs, because it's really about me, me, me. It's Venus in the first house. It's Venus on the ascendant, and it's the Aryan energy, right? So it's about me. It's about my body. It's about what I need. So bubble bath, baby, right? Get in some water. Go take a swim. Get in the ocean. Immerse yourself with water and liquids. This would be wonderful for Pisces Ascendant, Pisces Rising. It should be satisfying. I know for myself, there's things where just being near a large body of water, there's this calming factor it gives me, and I love it. Like Bubble Bath City, maybe not bubbles, but yes, I'm a big bather. No, I'm not a Pisces Ascendant. I have a lot of that 12th house energy, though. And yeah, we'll get into that at another time and how complex astrology can be. But Venus is going to be all about how can I indulge? How can I retreat? How can I take time and do the things that I need for me? Now, on the flip side of this, Mars, all right, Mars for you Pisces is in the 10th house. Mars is in Sagittarius in the 10th house, typically if you're a Pisces Ascendant, Pisces Rising, and if you have 16 degrees Sag placed in that 10th house. Like I said, if you're looking at a tropical Placidus, we could have split houses. So go by the degrees. Find out where is the 16-degree square occurring. Is Mars in your 10th at that point? Because if you're a Pisces Ascendant, it should be. But go by the degrees. So what is the 10th house Mars doing? The 10th house Mars, first of all, has a lot in common with the 10th house because the 10th house is about that climb. Well, if you have Sagittarius energy there, which is what, that's what's happening. It's Jupiter. It's this vertical climb. They go together. This is a signature of an astronaut. Having Sagittarius at your midheaven, like going up off of the earth and exploring places where man has never been, places where your mind has never been able to touch. That would be that's where you would shine. That's where you would express your best, so to speak. Because Mars there now is like, it really is that heat-seeking missile. It is really all about how high can we go? We're going vertical, we're going up, 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 and we're never going to stop. We're going to keep climbing. Mars is your power, your passion, your assertion, your drive. 10th house typically represents your profession and your career. One of the things I've learned about the 10th house, it is what I like in better understanding it. For people who've been around for a very long time, for souls who are just drenched with experience, sometimes it's really hard to figure that out because you've had so many experiences, right? There's lots of things that interest you, right? You have a very, very mature, very well-developed palette of living, of experiences. So it's not just one thing that gets you. There's multiple things, and it's like, oh my gosh, how do I pinpoint it? What really am I supposed to be doing for this lifetime? That 10th house placement, folks, it is where you express your best because it is something that you would do whether you were paid to do it or not. You would be doing it for free. It is something that you just came in innately having this passion and this drive and this knowledge and this ability to just keep working at it every single day, even if it's just a little bit, but for this entire lifetime. So it didn't matter whether you were recognized and acknowledged, although that would be extremely satisfying because there's this desire inside to keep going until you're recognized and acknowledged for being that, for doing that, for expressing that. So that to me is really a better way of understanding that 10th house placement. So with Mars there, holy crap, be careful. Because if you're a Pisces ascendant, you are sensitive to your surroundings. You are sensitive to frequencies, to vibrations, to the astral plane, to beings that exist there. You're sensitive to both realms, the material and the spiritual. And part of Venus being there and this experience with Venus being squared by Mars, Mars is like, let's keep going, let's not stop. And Venus is like, whoa, hold the hell on. I need this. And Mars is like, but I want to do this. And Venus is like, I'm doing this. So there's this, for some folks in their charts, this happens in direct relation to their significant one-on-one relationship. So it's a really big deal. It's like you could see folks, going their separate ways. I had to tell a lot of people in these free, monthly things that it could very simply be, the committed couple who's saying, we're going to take separate vacations this year. And that's okay. It could also be, shaky ground relationships where people seriously just split. So it has so much to do with your level of living and experience and knowledge and how you express it, and whether it's done in a way where you're responding and not reacting, and can you express your best, and will your wisdom shine? So for Venus in the first house, follow her. Listen to what she says. A Pisces ascendant, Pisces rising, it is all about understanding you have to have safe boundaries and borders that you put up. And this is that time where Venus is like, I have to do this. Now, there's a word of caution here. Because Venus loves to indulge. She rules Taurus, okay? Taurus, Venus, right? She also rules the sign of Libra. So in all actuality, Venus, the transiting Venus being in Pisces, means that in your house of relationships, this is going to be a factor, regardless of where it is in your chart. But for you, this is in your 8th house. You have Libra in your 8th house. So this is your bonded relationships, right? These are people you are very close to. So you want to pay attention, because Venus is going to be self-indulgent, but you'll have to monitor her. You'll have to monitor her in a way where don't overindulge, whether it's in, something liquid, right? So it could also go the other route. Instead of bath waters, it could be a glass of wine, bottle of wine. You understand what I'm saying? Substances, because this is also Pisces. This is also Neptune energy. And Neptune and Venus are going to be together. So Neptune, when we don't see, when we don't understand these subconscious behaviors, it becomes self-undoing activity, because things we're not aware of. Remember what I said at the beginning. Anything that we do in our habits, in our thoughts, in our thinking, in our ways, in our routines, that we're not even really aware of that we do, it's what becomes our, it's like I said, it becomes the self-undoing thing. That's it. So this time we'll likely be able to bring that up, and hopefully not in a super harsh way, because it won't be super harsh unless you have like your ascendant or in your midheaven that literally are squared at the same time, or if you have other planets that are on those degrees, then it becomes bigger. Anytime more planets are involved, more energy is involved. It becomes a bigger deal. You got it? So unless you're really, really aware, right, and you have nothing there, it's just a degree in your chart, and this is just a degree up here, and it's just by transit, you may not even be aware when it occurs. But if you're an extremely aware individual and you're looking for it, I'm not saying to create it, but paying attention, like I wasn't looking for someone to pull up something about me that I wasn't even aware I was doing. And it wasn't even a big deal, thank God. It was just some little habit or some little, subconscious thing I did in my writing. But like I said, I just wasn't aware of it. But she brought it to my attention, and that's this. That is the Piscean thing. That is the opposite of Virgo, right? The opposite of Virgo is Pisces, right? And I talked about the ability to just go into the details and be lost in the details. So it is it's a time where we have the support of the universe to learn a lot about ourselves. Now let me talk about Mars. I'm making this a little bit longer of a video, and I'm going into a little bit more depth because I understand through my comments I have some viewers who can handle the details. And I don't mind going over details, but some people can't handle it. They don't have the retention span for it, so I don't even bother. But anytime you all want more details, I can give it. And I know from the comments there are people out there who have been more than gracious in sharing their opinions and their views, and I will reciprocate. So, Mars. Pisces ascendant, Pisces rising. Mars in your 10th, Neptune on your ascendant, Neptune in your first house somewhere. When Mars and Neptune square up, Neptune's job, no matter what planet it's dealing with, its job is to dissolve the ego. That's what Neptune does. And Neptune dissolves the ego typically by clouding things, by veiling the truth, by purposefully hiding shit, because it forces you to see through, first of all, your own glasses, because that's what it is. It's Neptune is literally handing you a pair of rose-colored glasses, and well, I shouldn't say handing it to you, it puts them on you. And it says, these are yours. You have these for this lifetime. Your trick is to learn how to see through them, okay? So part of that, when Neptune hands us these rose-colored glasses, is it almost adds an additional sense of ego to us. Because we have to first see through our own bullshit. That's the big deal. Can you see through your own bullshit? Can you see through your own auric field, right? I love mediums, I love psychics, but what I will say is that for that branch of intuitiveness, a lot of it comes, the good information is going to come through when you have someone who is extremely skilled, extremely practiced, you know, just tons of hours of mediumship work, because they have spent, in all those times and hours and years of practice, they have spent penetrating the veil of their own auric field, right? Of their own egoic rays, and understanding, okay, these are Neptunes. Is this my stuff, or is this their stuff, or is it mine and their stuff mixed with messages from spirit? So it takes a long time, all right? It takes a long time to get tuned in with somebody who you know is really getting information from either source or from that one credible spirit. And so Neptune is all about all of this. And so as individuals, whether we're dealing with spirit or not on a regular, or whether we're just dealing with people on the physical plane on a regular, it is the same experience. Learning to see and get through my own ego shit and understanding what is truth. What did I impress upon that? In my power of my thoughts, in my power of my vision, what did I throw out there and put upon another person? How did I add to this? So Neptune's job in dissolving the ego, it also dissolves Mars. And what is Mars? It's our vehicle. It is our physical body. So at this time, if you're receiving, now for you, Mars, Neptune is could be on your ascendant, depending upon the degree. If it is, you understand why you've been sickly. Because if Neptune has any interactions with the body, if it's conjunct it, if it squares it, remember, Mars is the body, it literally, we are susceptible to illness, susceptible to sicknesses, to fevers, to inflammation. Okay, that's what happens. Also at this time, when you have a Mars squaring Neptune, your tolerance is much lower for alcohol, much lower for substances. So be careful, because Venus loves to indulge. She loves great tasting stuff, anything that appeases her senses. Venus is all about taste, touch, smell, the feel. That is Venus. Anything that feeds those appetites, those things that she loves, she's all about it. And this is what Venus does when she's in Neptune. She's all about self-soothing is the best way to put it, right? Self-soothing. So for individuals where you know that you're prone to partake on certain things, realize that whatever you were able to do, okay, before, you may have a lower tolerance to it at this time. And the information for all this runs starting from the 25th to the end of the month, okay? Now, it's not going to be a big deal if you don't have any matching degrees, especially like angles or other planets there. It'll come, but it'll, like I gave you an example of a small thing, right? Very small. Another example of a really small thing would just be like through a communication, right? And me saying, oh, I can have 3 cookies, but I know right now if I go to number 5, 6, or 7 cookie, I'm going to really pay the price. I will have a lower tolerance than usual, okay? So I think that wraps it up. If there's anything I didn't make clear, or, yeah, it could have been confusing because there's just so much going on up here, and it kind of all likes to come in at the same time to try to give the most complete picture, because in reality, we are all astrology. We are the entire zodiac. We encompass all of it. So please let me know if you want to hear more or if there's something I didn't touch on. And remember, we are all astrology, and I hope this has helped. Bye.